today in my backyard, and we're going to be talking a little bit about bat houses, bird houses, and other things that can be built. You have a company that builds these?
Well, Old Bridge Farm, and part of Old Bridge Farm is a full functioning wood shop, which we're in right now.
Right.
And you touched on it a little bit. I
Yeah.
build chairs, Adirondack chairs, benches, tables, double benches.
Yep. Yeah, I saw a really nice
birdhouses
love seat outside.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, yeah.
And yes, and
Yeah.
that's part of the things. Some of the things that we do here at
Yeah,
Old Bridge Farm.
yeah.
see?
So, where would people get these? You sell them at the farmers market?
I sell them at the farmers markets.
Yeah.
I go to the Ringe Farmers Market, the Walpole, and also the Jaffrey Farmers Market.
So, well, let's look at some of these that you have built here
Yeah,
already.
I got some stuff lying around
Yeah,
here.
you've got an owl
Well,
house?
this is for screech owls.
Okay.
This house here.
Yep. And
what-
let's see. So this one here has a door that you can open. Does this open here?
It does.
Okay.
Now, to clean it out,
I
it's,
see. Okay.
pivots up, which is kind of nice.
Yep.
It's got a little lock there. a
Yep.
little lock.
Yep. So this is like if they were in a tree and they would go down in, and that's how they like to live.
Well, the thing with owls, it's fairly important to recognize. They look for holes in trees, okay? And you look in your own backyard, how many holes do you have in your trees? Probably not too many, at least not suitable for an owl.
Right.
If you start putting up boxes, they're going to see holes, and they're going to have nesting opportunities. They're going to have good habitat,
Yep.
and they're going to use these houses.
Yeah. And this would be very sanitary because, as you said, that you can open this up and clean it out.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah, it's
So-
good to clean it out once a year.
Yep. Yep.
Screech owls in particular are very good at reducing rodent populations. And the thing about rodents, most people don't realize they spread Lyme's disease. They're more prevalent in spreading the disease than white-tailed deer.
Oh, I never
so,
knew.
Yes.
Wow.
So
Wow.
they're pretty. Owls are key.
Yeah.
In controlling the
Yeah.
rodent.
You know, it's
population.
funny because people never think of those things. They think of these just as flying animals, or, I mean, when we talk about bats, you know, they eat tons and tons of bugs. So there's a lot of really positive things out there that we can
there really are.
encourage to come into our yards.
Oh yeah, they really are. Now,
Yeah.
a squirrel might visit this house, okay,
Right.
which is no big deal because, as you know, owls and squirrels don't really get along too well.
Right.
As a matter of fact, the squirrel might just have or the owl might just have the squirrel for dinner.
Well, that's convenient.
If the squirrel goes in, the owl sees a hole, the squirrel's going to go out.
Yeah, yeah. Ah, well, that's interesting. So what else do you have here?
Well, I got, let's see, what else do I have here? Here's a birdhouse. This is a house, it's a good size for tree swallows, as a matter of fact.
Yep.
This has
And
a
does that have a
clean out as
button?
well.
Oh, yep. Great.
That's a clean out there.
Yep.
And it's the right hole for tree swallows.
Right. And people don't sometimes think about that the size of the hole matters on what kind of bird is going to go
Yes,
into
that's a
that
good
box,
point.
too. Yeah.
It's got to be the right hole. If it's too big, then you may not get the birds you want.
Right.
So it's got to be
Right.
the right size.
Yeah. Now, this has to be cleaned out every year? Is that
You got to clean them out once a year.
Yeah.
You know, you got to maintain them.
right?
But as far as the construction of the house, it's made out of nice thick pine up in a tree. It's going to last a long, long time.
Right.
And all the fasteners are coated. So something like this, you stick this up in a tree, it's going to last.
Yep.
You're going to see this thing for a long, long
That's
time.
great. It's a great thing that a family could do. You know, a family project
Sure.
for putting them
Sure.
out in your yard or your field or whatever. But the reason that I'm here today is bats. You know, bats are really, really important. People don't think about the fact that bats take care of a lot of the mosquito population and the bug population. Instead of spraying, you can have bats in your yard, and that will take care of a lot of the insects that you have around.
Correct.
And they're not really here to spread disease, from what I understand. They're very healthy animals. You just need to provide a good habitat that's not your roof where they're going to come in and out.
They are.
make
And you know, a lot
mess.
of people are afraid of rabies. And, oh, bats, I don't want bats, they have rabies. The incidence of rabies is so rare with bats that it's really not something you need to be that worried about.
Right. And on the other show that we were talking with somebody up at Otterbrook, it's amazing to see how the population of bats has gone down, because there used to be bats everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Remember
and that white nose.
Yeah, the
disease.
little brown bats, the population has been decimated
Right.
by that white nose syndrome.
Right. Right.
I learned a lot on that show.
Did
Didn't you?
Yeah. Oh, I did too. Yeah,
It was a
definitely.
good show.
Yeah.
Yeah, the little brown bats are almost to the point where they're not even around anymore.
Yeah. So what we need to do is provide them with a habitat that can increase their population if we can. And so that's what we have bat houses for. And you can do some research online and things like that if you're interested in learning more about different sizes and things like that. Because they have boxes that are small where the males can stay, and then they have the big boxes.
That reminds me. Hold that thought. How's this for a big box?
That's a big box. What would you do with this?
Well, this is a nursery
Uh-huh.
box.
Wow.
Let me set it down
Yep.
here.
Yep.
Little room.
Yep.
Now,
Wow.
if you look inside the box, you'll see multi-chambers.
Mm-hmm.
And the female bats go in these chambers. They have their pups, and they raise them right in the box.
Wow.
And it's specifically designed with holes on the top of these chambers so the bats can go up and in and out of each individual chamber without coming out.
Wow.
It's,
So how many
it's a great
bats
box.
did you say can fit in here?
Over 400.
400. I don't know if I want to have 400 bats in my yard, but I think this is
The
a
more
great
bats I have, the less mosquitoes. Remember that?
You're right. You're right. You're right. So is it better to put these on a pole or put them on your house? Where would you put them?
You want to put this on, actually, if you have a barn or
Mm-hmm.
a tree would be good. You got to get them 10 to 15 feet up.
Mm-hmm.
And they got to face the south to southeast.
Right. Now, why is that important?
Well, it's important because bats need heat.
Mm-hmm.
And, with the rising sun, they get the heat the first thing in the morning. And they need that. They need heat. Because they're mammals.
Yeah. And you've painted this, so that probably attracts the sunlight a little bit more.
Well, it's black, so it absorbs sun and
Yeah.
gets a little hotter.
Yeah.
Now, depending on where you live, like say you lived in Georgia where it's hot anyway.
Right, right.
You may not want it black.
Right.
Because it might get too hot.
Yeah.
In which case, the bats may not like it as
Yeah.
much. So.
Because from what I understand, I think it's supposed to be between 85 and 100 degrees. So if you're too hot, then those bats aren't going to want to come
They're
back.
going to vacate.
Right. Right. Yep. Wow. Well, I'm really interested to see how a bat house is made. So
Well, how about I make you one right now?
that sounds great. Let's do this.
Let me get this out of the way.
Okay.
Okay, so I got a bunch of pieces right here I was working on this morning and
Great.
for a little while,
Yep.
in between a million other things that I was doing.
I know, because you got this big farm here.
I'm running around doing
Yeah.
this and that and all kinds of
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
But I knew you wanted this bat house, so I figured I'd start it. And,
Excellent.
I got
So
all
what
the
are,
pieces.
what are the pieces that you need to have to get started?
Well, you need, of course, you need the back.
Mm-hmm.
All right, this holds the whole house on a tree.
Right.
or-
And does that have to be cedar? Can it be pine, plywood? What?
Well, a good exterior plywood would foot the bill.
Great.
So you need the plywood. Now you need, this is pretty important. This helps the bats cling to the house. With their little feet, they get them in there.
Yep.
Now, what you can also do.
And what is this anyway? Is this just plastic or is it
Yeah,
metal?
it's
or-
plastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
don't even really need metal. I mean,
They just need
this,
something.
Yeah, they just
Yeah.
need something. This is, what's the mesh on this? This is, it's just about ½ inch.
Yep.
And, it just gives them something to cling to,
Right.
which is good. Now, what you can also do, personally, I like this, but you can take a saw, a circular saw, and just rough it up.
Right. Right.
And it'll also work.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
But this is kind of nice because they really can grasp onto this.
they can.
Right.
They can.
Yep. Okay.
And then also the pieces for the house itself. These are the front of the house.
So
If you
this
look
is
at,
the front here.
Well, here we go. I got
Yeah.
one made right here.
Yeah.
This is the front, so you need 3 pieces, which I have here. Three
Yep.
pieces. And the roof, which I happen to have right here. This is
Yep.
the roof. Now I rounded this one out, which
Yep.
you could do, but
Yeah. It's all
you don't
personal,
have to.
personal preference.
It is,
Right.
you know,
Right.
it's
It's
a
just
little
like some people want and some people don't.
Right. Yeah,
It's-
you don't
it's
have
all
to.
personal, yeah.
It is. And then for fasteners, I like to use coated screws, which are pretty important. You don't
Yeah.
want it. You don't want the screws rusting, the thing falling apart.
Right. Right.
And then for the screen itself, I use
Staple gun.
stainless. Well, I use staple gun and stainless staples. It's pretty important
Right.
to have
Because you want
stainless
this thing to last.
stainless staples. You do, because it's going to get damp in there,
Right.
and you're going to have If you use regular staples, they'll rust out, and then the whole screen is going to fall out.
Right.
So you don't want that to happen.
Right.
But anyway, why don't we put it together real
Okay.
quick?
All right. So
And,
how do you get started?
Well, the first thing I do is I take these side pieces. Now, if you look at the side pieces, they have a thickness of, well, these have a thickness of about 1 inch. And some people might think it's a little wide, but from the reading I've done, anything between 3/4 of an inch and 1 inch is good
Right.
for the bats.
Right.
You don't want anything too wide because then they don't feel as secure. You don't want anything too thin because then they can't get into it. So, so these are good, and I use these as pretty much as spacers. And if you look at this house, this finished house, there's your space. So, you know, and the bats need a space to
Yeah.
get in.
Now, again, this house, is this going to be exactly the same size as this house here?
It is.
Okay.
Well, I don't know. Let's see. It's going to be pretty close.
Right. But what would
Yes,
would
same
this
size.
be attracting the males or the females, or what would we have in
Males
here?
generally
Just
will
males?
go in this house.
Okay.
Yeah. This this will hold probably anywhere between 20 and 40 males once they get established. You're not going to get a lot, but for the most part, the males will visit this house.
Yep. Yep. Well, anything is better than nothing. So.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. I mean, it's
Okay.
a great little house.
Okay,
All right,
so-
let's get busy here. Now, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put these little spacers on.
And do you use any glue, or is it all just screwing?
You don't have to use any glue.
Okay.
You can use construction adhesive if you want to, but it's not really that necessary. I mean,
Right.
as long as
Because you want some ventilation in it anyway, right?
you do,
Yeah.
and we'll get to that in a minute. But you want to use coated screws. That's pretty important because you don't want the screws to rust. So let's see. Do I have a charge? Oh yeah.
Always nice to have a charged.
Well, yeah, it is. It's nice to have a charge. Now, one thing about these screws, these are a little big, and you don't want them poking out on the other side. So
Okay.
what I do is, you know,
Oh, put it in an angle.
put on a slight angle.
Yep. Yep.
And
Good
that'll-
idea. And it's actually going to hold it better anyway if you did it on an angle.
That's right.
Yeah.
How did you know that?
I'm just smart that way, I guess.
Okay. Your father wasn't a shop teacher, was he?
No, but I do a lot of building with beekeeping equipment.
With what?
Beekeeping equipment.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
right. I
yeah.
heard you.
But I
do
don't
that.
use screws. I use nails. But I do put them in it on angles sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, one day you're gonna have to show me about those bees.
I will. You know, more people need to be beekeepers, just like more people need to have bats.
Yeah, bees are great.
Yeah.
What's a problem with the bees becoming so scarce? What is that all
I think a
about?
lot of
I
it
heard
has to
some-
do with pesticides and things like that. But you know, the pesticides also, I feel, have been affecting the bats because you know the bats are eating the bugs that eat the pesticides or that come in contact with them, and so you know I think that it affects everybody. It's a spiral of effects. So you know we all have to look at.
Is there a
everything.
specific pesticide that you're talking about, or just pesticides
Well,
in general?
I don't know. There's a lot of pesticides. There's this group of pesticides called neonicotinoids, which is just a new group of pesticides that have come out. But you know, there's all kinds of pesticides out there that people don't realize. You know, and you know, I'm sure also, besides some of the pesticides, you know, there's other things that we use every day that could probably harm the bees or harm the bats as well. So I think we really just have to think about what we're doing to our environment,
agree.
what we're using.
I agree. You're best off to stay away from pesticides entirely.
Right, right, and you know, even things like herbicides and even things like fertilizer. Even I mean, there are a lot of things out there that we just don't realize are affecting the other populations that we don't see. You know, just because you don't see the bats doesn't mean they're not there. Hopefully they're there, but just because you don't see something doesn't mean that it's not making or taking an effect on different things in our
Right.
environment.
Remember the DDT and
Right,
the
totally,
eggs?
totally. Yeah, Silent Spring. You know, it's amazing to think about the effect that one little change to our environment can take. Even, you know, like I just don't know. I'm not sure about the spraying. You know, for the West Nile. You know, I know that we need to do something, but I don't know that that's really the answer. So I don't know.
Yeah. So you have to wonder what is the answer.
Right, right. So this really does go together pretty quickly. Let me
It
look
does.
at it.
It goes together pretty quick.
Yeah.
you know, once you get going with it,
Yeah.
it,
Do you need any help there? Are you good? Probably built a
pretty
few of
good.
these, huh?
Yeah. I've done a few.
And so does Dylan like to build these? Or?
He does.
Yeah.
He likes doing the bat houses, the bird houses he likes, and you know, I encourage any kind of work he can do in the shop here
Right.
because, you know, he's getting to the age now. Well, he just turned 14, so as he's getting to the age now, he's going to want to start using the
Right.
stationary power
Right.
tool.
And this is a great place to start.
It is.
Yeah.
You got to start somewhere,
Right.
and
Yep.
You know-
and you can do the project pretty quickly, and
You
you
can.
have something to show for it after.
right.
And you're doing something good for the environment. You know, as long as you're doing, you know, you do want to research because, you know, you don't want to just put a bunch of pieces of wood together, but you want to find things that people have done in the past so that you can know that you're doing the right thing.
Correct. Now, if you look at the screen, see how you got a little space?
And that's
between?
totally fine.
That's fine because
Yeah.
it gives him the little feet
Right.
an area to hold on to.
Right.
So you don't want it right pressed tight up
Right,
against it.
because they'd never be able to grab it.
Right.
Right.
So we're coming together pretty quick here.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we got, we pretty much have just 3 pieces left.
Right.
And now what we're going to do
Now you
is,
just got to put them in the right place.
well, yeah. We'll put
So-
the front side up first.
Okay.
Now, what I like to do with some of these pieces is you want to countersink, but you have to be careful you don't split the wood. So, do you see how I'm using a bit as
Right,
a
that's
countersink?
great. Yeah.
There's not too many people who know about that. I think I might have invented it, actually.
No, when I saw you do that, though, I thought, geez, I never thought of doing that. I know other people out there have done it before, I'm sure, but that is a great idea. And now, why do you want to countersink them?
Well, it makes for, aside from the fact that it makes for a neater project, you know, believe it or not, I mean, you got these bats that are flying around this thing, and if it's not countersunk, if you see the screw,
Right.
see that sharp little
Right,
edge right there?
right, right.
I mean, with the little membranes
I know.
these little bats have on their wings,
Yeah.
they could actually split or cut something.
Right,
or, you
right,
know,
because that's very, very thin. Yep,
not that it would happen, but it could happen.
it could. You know, I would also think that weatherizing it is better to have them countersunk too, just because when you paint this or stain it or whatever, you know, everything gets on there. If you had the screws sticking out, there might be weather that would get in there too.
Correct.
Yeah.
Plus, it's just a good general practice if you're using screws to join woodworking projects together. Always countersink.
Yeah, yeah,
I do it on everything.
yeah. So you've got 2 boards on, one
Okay,
more
so
board.
now I got 2 boards left.
Yep,
This is for the front.
Okay.
And this is the little roof. Now, it's important with the front that you leave a little space.
so how
I
much space would that be,
generally-
like a 1/4 of an inch or
Well,
something?
this is
or-
what I generally do. I take a piece of Luan. Let me see if I can find one here. Well, let's see. Maybe I can get it. Oh, here we go. There's a piece right here. I take a piece of Luan, and Luan's generally a 1/4 of an inch or so
Yep.
in thickness.
Yep.
I stick it right there.
Yep,
And that gives me my space. Then I just screw the board on. Oh, wrong screw. Like so.
screw guns are so nice.
Yeah, could you imagine doing this all by hand?
It takes so much less time to do it this way.
There's your space. We got a couple more screws to put in here.
So this gap here is just for ventilation.
Just for ventilation. Because you don't want them to get too hot. You know?
And now, will they stay in this box during the winter?
Well, bats are funny. Some might, but it's not a guarantee.
Right. Because what I understand is that most of the time they go to find a cave.
Right. Well, they might find well, first of all, the unfortunate occurrence of the white nose syndrome has pretty much knocked out the little brown bat.
Right.
So we don't have too many of them left. The big brown bats are flying around, and they may not find a cave. You know what they might find? a situation where you get a little bit of loose bark on an old tree.
Oh, and just slide up underneath
Right
it.
underneath,
Right,
yeah.
right.
That
Well,
makes
as
it
long as
great.
they have a place to go, that's what's important.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what this gives them.
Yep, yep.
Okay, so that's looking pretty good.
Yeah.
Now, we got one more piece, and that's the roof. So we'll put that on. That looks pretty good. Turn that around. So, oh, you know what I'm going to do here? I'm going to countersink that side and that side. Like so.
So do you sell kits that you can build like this, or do you have,
I can do
you know,
either.
okay,
If somebody wants a bat house kit and they want to have the pleasure of putting one together, I can give them a kit.
Yep.
If they want want one already assembled, I can give them that too.
Yep.
So it's
Yeah.
you know.
yeah, because again, this is a great family project.
It
that
is.
really you didn't, if the pieces are all cut, you didn't have to use any serious tools. You use a screw gun and a staple gun. I
Yeah,
mean,
it doesn't take a lot.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and it's kind of a fun project to do on a Saturday or any day. And
yeah.
there you have it.
Wow. That's
What do you
amazing.
think? Do you like
I
it?
think it's beautiful. I can't wait to go home. I'm going to paint it probably like a darker gray, I think, because around here we do need it dark because it needs to be 85 to 100 degrees inside, right? Yeah. And so I'll put it on a southeast side of the house.
Nice.
And let's see. I know I don't have any bats in the house already, so that's a plus. But if I did have bats in the house, I understand that what you would do is you would let the bats out somehow. You get them out, and then they have these little things that you put on the house so that the bats can't find their way to go back in, but they can find their way to get back out.
You know what might be a good idea?
What?
A lot of times at night, all the bats vacate because they want to feed.
Right,
So why not wait for them to vacate?
Right.
And then close up all the
right.
the
And then
gaps,
put your bat house close to where
Yeah.
they would have come in.
Yeah. They will find their normal house,
Right. But they've got a place
but you
to
don't
live.
want them in your house though. Anyway.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. Yeah, that guano stuff is not healthy. That is not healthy.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah.
To get
well,
them
that's
out of your
great.
house into a nice little bat house like
Yep.
this, and you're good to go.
Yep, that sounds great. So now do you build the big ones too, like the black one that we saw
I
before?
do.
Okay. So
Multi-chambered, yes.
Yep. And are those the two sizes that you pretty much have? Is
Yes,
those two?
Those
Okay.
are the two sizes.
Okay, great.
Although, if somebody wanted a bat house, any particular size, I can pretty much make it. So.
Yep. Yeah, nice, nice. Okay, so we did talk about the owl houses, the bird houses, the bat houses. What are the other things that you have that you build? Adirondack chairs?
Adirondack chairs.
Okay.
Here, hold on. Let me put this. Well, here,
Here, I'll take it because it's
All
going
right,
home with
well,
me.
it's yours anyway. Why don't you grab it?
Yeah.
All right, coming through here,
Wow.
coming through. This nice shot, nice grab.
All right, so this is a Adirondack chair. Now, this isn't just an Adirondack chair. This is a nice rocker. Looks like it could be very comfortable.
Yeah, this is a rocker. It's fairly new in my repertoire. I started building these about a year ago or so. And I've been building Adirondack chairs for about 12 years, so I've been doing it a while. I have a lot of people asking me about the Adirondack chair, or the rocker. And I've been selling a lot. And it's a great little rocker. Now, what's great about it is, if you look at the length of the seat from the front,
Let's show these guys what it looks like. So the length of the seat from the front.
how's that? Now, if you look at the chair from the front to the back, it's quite a bit shorter than my standard Adirondack chair. So, like some ladies are a little shorter or whatever,
Right.
they don't fit well in the standard Adirondack
Right,
chair.
they're way too long, yeah.
Right.
Right.
So that you don't complain about it. So that's why I decided to build one of these, and they sit in this and they like it much, much better.
Right, right.
And
what is this? What kind of wood is this?
this is pine.
Uh-huh.
And pine is fine if you maintain it right. If you set it out on your lawn and forget about it, okay, you're going to have some problems
Right.
because the wood will wick up water, and which isn't good. You don't want the wood to wick up water and stay wet and damp because then you're going to get some rotting. But you know, if you keep this particular chair is pine, you keep it on a porch, a patio. In the wintertime, you cover it up, and I tell my customers, just get a small tarp at Home Depot or some hardware store, and you just cover it up and tie it up. You're good to go.
Right. Right.
Good to go.
Now, do you ever make these out of cedar or anything else? Or they're
I don't
mostly
make the
pine?
rockers out of cedar, but I do make another type of chair. I can go get it if you'd like.
And what is that?
Well, how about if I just surprise you?
Okay.
Now, look at this.
That
What do you
is
think of this
so
guy?
cute. That's like a little princess chair.
It's a chair.
Or it's made for a king.
It's a chair for kids.
Right, right. This is beautiful. This is beautiful. I would love to get a couple of these.
Basically, it's pretty much the same design as the full-size chairs I make. Let me tell you something.
It's sturdy.
It's very sturdy.
Yeah.
It takes quite a while to get one of these little things together.
Right, right. Because you still have the same pieces. Just because it's smaller doesn't mean that you're using less wood.
Exactly. As a matter of fact, being smaller, it actually makes it a little harder to make.
Right. So I think you have a love seat too?
Do you want to go outside
Yeah, I would
and
really
check them
like
out?
to see that. Yeah. So
Okay,
can
let's do it.
All right, cool.
So everybody should still be rolling. And you're walking into the shot.
Okay. So you have a chair, but then, oh, wow, you have a love seat too.
Yeah, I just happen to have a few items here that I've built.
Uh-huh.
This is the love seat, or double bed. And this I designed as well. It is extremely comfortable, and I'll tell you why.
Well, look at, yeah, go,
Contoured back,
right.
the contoured seat.
Right. I want to just pull this up for a minute too, because I mean it's really nice. It's got this here. I mean, it looks like you're just going to sink right into it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, you pretty much do.
Yeah.
And now that we have it up, this piece here is actually scribed into the back
Oh,
for
wow.
a good fit. And you don't always see that in outdoor furniture.
Right.
You know,
Right.
I take a lot of care when I design and build these items.
Wow. Wow. Well, that's
Another
great.
thing that's pretty key about this bench is the whole chair a lot more solid,
Right.
and holds it together, which is key.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you know, this has been so great, Bill, to learn a little bit more about some of the things that you do as a woodworker, you know, making Adirondack chairs, bird houses. You just slide right in there, don't you? That's great.
Well, try
I know,
that
I
one
should
out.
too, yeah. Whoa. This is long back.
It is.
Yeah. Maybe I
is.
need the kids' chair.
Well, I don't know. Your leg's long enough.
I know. No, this has been great today. So today we've been in my backyard with Bill Lauer and Old Bridge Farm, and we've learned a little bit more about things that you can do with wood and bat houses, and they're just so important. You know, if you get a chance, build one. Go online, or you know, give us an email, and we'll get you in contact with Bill. So our email address for In My Backyard is inmybackyardch8@gmail.com. You can give us an email and we'll get back to you, and maybe you'll have a bat house in your own backyard. All right, we'll see you again. Bye.